Hello, lovely citizens of the internet. We are back with another Deadlock breakdown. This time, in the highest of MMR lobbies, we'll be checking out some Yamato gameplay from none other than popular streamer in Deadlock world, Hydration. And it seems like everyone loves him, articulates creative builds really effectively, and people seem to really enjoy what he's been doing in these top lobbies. So I'm finally checking out one of his VODs. Before we get into the VOD itself, I wanted to go over the build that will be utilized in the VOD, as it is pretty effective and it's worth understanding it and priming ourselves a little bit ahead of time. Early game stuff is pretty straightforward. I think the things that are most notable here is the high velocity mag and the close quarters. Both of these items, damage items, will end up building into Headhunter for high velocity mag, and close quarters will build into point blank. So we're not wasting any money by having to sell these back, even though it's only 250 souls that we would lose if we were to do so. It's nice that it kind of just makes sense. Now, usually with these early lane scenarios, you tend to prioritize damage if you're kind of winning the lane, because it allows you to create more pressure and compound your advantage. But if you're the ones that are kind of losing out on the lane, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and go for the sustain items first, just so you can keep on denying creeps and getting experience and last hitting, because you can stay on the lane. Because that's always the most important priority, is to at least stay on the lane. So that's how that shakes out. And one thing to mention with the high velocity mag and why it's really key is because we throw projectiles with our primary. So the 30% increased velocity speed will allow us to be able to do more damage, because it's much easier to connect shots on our opponents with projectiles when the projectiles go quicker. Simple as that. So the next tier of items here we'll be focusing on is going to be slowing bullets. I mean, this is no particular order. We'll talk about the ordering in the game, but slowing bullets to slow our opponents. And by the way, these items are starting to really reflect the game style of the hero that we're playing, Yamato. So the slowing bullets, we really want to make sure that if we attack our opponents, that they cannot get away. We're very high mobility. We want to get in, we want to burst people down, and then we want to get out. So slowing bullets helps us to keep them in one place. 25% is what the slow is when you connect damage onto them. Fleet Foot is a really amazing item because it has so many applications for everyone in terms of mobility. The active gives you improved movement speed for 19 seconds, which is a long time, and the cooldown's pretty reasonable. And it also gives you a reduced deficit on the movement penalty. So a reduced movement penalty when you are shooting, which is also really important for varying reasons. We always want mobility, but especially once you're in that mid-game phase and you're kind of going between lanes, you're going between creep camps, and you're shooting and moving, it's going to just allow you to get from A to B much more quickly. And then also, of course, having the slide increase percentage of 25%, I think it is really nice as well from Fleet Foot. I'll just double check that to make sure I am not lying to all of you. Yeah, 25% slide indeed. So I got that correct. All right, beautiful. Divine Barrier is really nice, and it's something that you probably want to pick up fairly quickly, because it's going to really allow you to deal with the fact that you're otherwise pretty squishy. And that tends to be the downside of most of these types of heroes that are very high skill ceiling, very high mobility, very high damage. Usually the trade-off is we're pretty squishy. So Divine Barrier gives you an active ability that I think for 6 seconds is going to boost your spirit and your health, or rather your bullet shields, I should say, which makes you more tanky. So you can pop that. I would say it's nice to pop it before, like right at the beginning of a fight, when you know you're going to start taking damage, because that way you'll be a little bit tankier. And usually with the Yamato gameplay, we're going to pop our ult most of the time, I'm sure, but we want to try to make sure that we don't pop our ult until we really need to, and so we want them to do a lot of damage to us and get us fairly low before we decide to maybe pop the ult, or we're popping the ult defensively because we just need it to survive. That's usually the two major instances that you'll pop the ult. So Divine Barrier is just a nice ability to have as an active to just give you more tankiness, enduring speed, some bit more mobility. Slowing Hex is really important, especially depending on the heroes you're playing against. In the VOD we're going to be against both Infernus and Moen Krill, so let's just use those two as an example. Slowing Hex, one of the things that the active does is it's going to silence their movement abilities. So their ability to escape, let's say Infernus with his sprint, he's not going to be able to do that when you hit him with this. So if you get the hook, you're hooked onto him, you zoom, like straight into his face, you pop the Slowing Hex, he can't really get away. There'll be he will still be able to use dashes and stuff, but they'll be slowed down as well. So really nice slowing item to make sure that in those 1v1s you get a lot of outplay potential. Bullet Resist Shredder is nice because when you do any spirit damage, and your 3 of your 4 abilities, so all of your abilities except your ult will do spirit damage, that's going to then lower their bullet resist percentage. So you're going to do more damage off of your primary. So you're going to be able to burst them down more quickly. And that's a lot of to do with what we are trying to do with Yamato, is to get lots of burst damage. Duration extender for the ults, so you're invulnerable for longer. And suppressor's gonna, once you do spirit damage, much like with the bullet resist shredder, it's going, as this reduces their bullet resist, when you do spirit damage with suppressor, it reduces their fire rate. So we're basically really like just creating a scenario where we get buffed into this like godlike hero when we're in these one-on-ones with all these abilities, and they get completely nerfed in terms of their movement and their attack speed. Then Headhunter, more velocity, and very key with Headhunter is that, of course, you get more bonuses from headshots, but you get lifesteal from headshots too, which is really nice. And it goes up to from 30% to 50% velocity increase on the projectiles, so you become even more deadly in that sense. Heroic Aura is super nice because you get 250% lifesteal when you pop this, and that's going to be particularly cool because let's say you're in your ult. Yeah, you can't die, but you can take damage. So if you're in your ult, and this is going to be a really great way to recover health very rapidly and then be full health again potentially when the invulnerability wears off. Hunter's Aura is really nice because when you get close to an opponent, if it's just one opponent that's next to you, a hero, instead of the usual 9% bullet resist that they lose, they're going to lose 28% instead, or 27%, sorry, because what you're going to see is instead of 9%, it triples. So that's pretty powerful in those one-on-ones, makes you super deadly in that scenario. Point blank, more damage up close. Fortitude is actually a pretty great sustain item because when we're in that mid to late game and we're moving around different lanes and farming, if you're out of the fight for 11 seconds, what will happen is you'll get 4% health back per second. So you'll basically be healing really quickly when you're out of the fight. So super nice. Superior duration, extending the ult once again for more invulnerability time. So, you kind of get the picture with all of this stuff. We're slowing them. We're dropping their ability to fire quickly. We have many ways to improve our sustain as well as our burst damage. And so we're just loving life. So with all of that said, let's get into the VOD and see precisely how hydration manages this game. And we'll check out, see what lane we're on first, and we'll kind of see how the positioning works and these smaller sort of micro decisions that allow you to get edges. Because usually with all of this stuff, we have to ask the base question: how are we going to get an advantage? Like what is the advantage? And typically in the early game, your advantage is I want to take as little damage as possible whilst dealing as much damage as possible because that gives them less options and me more options. And let's see how that is achieved in this particular case. Obviously, you also want to stay on the lane to get experience and last hits, maximize last hits for your currency and experience. But cool. So we're using our right click early on in the game here. We've got our power slash as well, which is kind of like I think it's like 25-meter range, so not a huge range, but you get a little bit of a nuke. And the right click is going to be way better at this time, I think, for most of these shots because you get like a lot of damage out of those. Much easier to hit at this point. And look at the positioning. I love this positioning. So we've got Vindicta, who's kind of like on the front of the lane. Just facing them, and we're kind of like on the side of the lane. So the Abrams doesn't really have anywhere to really hide to hit these creeps. So in terms of how we're controlling the middle part of the lane, because if you can think of it this way, at this point in time, there's like 3 states for this lane. You can either be at your own tower, you can be in the middle fighting, or you can be at their tower essentially, because the way that the cover works. And so we're creating a scenario here with our positioning where we're very dominant in terms of this lane for damage output. And just look how we're playing around this little house. I don't know what to call this thing. It's not a house, but I don't know what to call it. So we can see Inferno's trying to do some damage to us. Again, we're just doing such a good job, like throw these, duck into cover, throw these, duck into cover. Definitely, one of the easiest things that you can try to work on is how efficient you are with regards to using the movement, the cover to maximize damage and minimize what you take. So Abrams trying to dodge it behind the veil because Abrams wanted to get the situation where he could like punch, and he might even be it might be too early for him to have the lifesteal gloves, but that did not work out. So we get the chase there, easy follow up. Infernus feels like he can punish us, but we get a little bit of a heal from the slash and which is our 3. And that did not work out. So that's a really nice start for us. Okay, so another thing about understanding the states of the lane. if you're able to kind of in your minds create these categories of oh, this is this type of game state, you can now then understand all of the types of decisions that relate to that. So you kind of shortcut how you understand how to make a good decision in your brain. So here it's like, okay, the creeps are really pushed, and I mean, obviously you just got 2 kills, so they don't have any presence. So you're not really missing any farm at this point, or any denies. So it's a very easy spot for you to just go back to the lane. Equally, another thing to consider as both of us, like I'm playing, go back to buy, is when they die, if they have left you relatively low, they might feel like, okay, if we just both zoom in off the ropes with the speed boost, we're going to be in a spot where we can just dive them. So you've got to be really cautious once you get these kills with how fast they can come back onto lane so that you're not in a position where they can exploit you. And let's just talk about that real quick. What would be the advantage if we were standing in deeper positions right now? Basically none. There's basically no reason to be in deeper positions. So we can just play our like good spots as we were previously. Missed the... I don't mean to expose hydration. Missed the deny there. It's all good. I'm not one to talk because I'm watching the game more than I'm playing it right now. Sadly. So we're back on our lane. Again, just looking to prioritize the denies. We've got these barrels here to be able to use for cover. Vindicta's coming back to the lane with us. Some action happening on the blue lane. Diving there. So we're clearing out these creeps. We are... So right now, the opposing heroes are missing. I don't know that I saw them on the blue lane. There are 3 on the blue lane, though. So I think one of our opponents is on... Okay, no, they are both missing onto the blue lane. Okay, so that's where they went. Okay, so we have this information. What do we want to do? So how quickly can they gank us? At this early point in the game, not super fast because there's not as much mobility. So we get this opportunity now to just like, it's just really get maximized damage here around this tower. Clearing out these creeps really quickly. And also, the faster that we clear these creeps and do damage to the tower, the more options we have afterwards. Because we've dealt with that. Now there's no reason to be on the lane. There's nothing else that we can do, so we quickly reverse course. And so I have to say, I really love, this is a good example of trying to cut corners to maximize your edges. So again, we just covered this. Like, we are this deep on the tower. They've got, okay, you heard it on the comms. They're coming to us now. So they have the full awareness that the only thing they have to really worry about is these 2 very pushed players because they were pushed, they got the kill, they've done everything that they could possibly do on this blue lane. There is only one thing that is left for them to do, which is to come back here. And instead of playing scared, we went right up to the line and we got all the value. And you can see how close it is based on the fact that we are in a kind of sketchy position, but we got here just in time and we're not actually in too much trouble. And they overcommitted. And this is another reason why cutting corners and trying to maximize your edges as much as possible, like limit testing, can be really powerful because they felt like they had a good spot, but it's hard for them to be 100% sure. It's like kind of close. So if they decide to make it happen, you can still find a way to win that scenario, which is kind of what happened here in this particular instance. They kind of overcommitted. The fight looked like they could have taken it. They could have dived, but it just didn't end up working out. So we end up getting more ahead because of this, because we didn't die and we're maintaining presence on the lane. So this is really nice. And one thing as well is we did so much damage to the tower when they went missing. So this is the other thing. If they're going to leave this lane, we need to punish them for that if there is a way to do so. Because one thing that's really important in anything competitive is don't let your opponents have something for free. If it should, everything that they do, if that gets them some value, should cost them something. It should cost them positioning. It should cost them time. It should cost them something valuable. And it is up to you to create that cost for them. It's kind of a strange way to put it, but I think you understand what I mean. So some nice denies here. And we want to look at this point, especially now that the tower's down, how do we use this? This is a sub 4 minute kill on the tower. So that's pretty quick, much like we lost our tier 1 tower even more quickly just previously on the blue lane. So okay, so we need to constantly be thinking about the macro. So, okay, we got the kills on the creep waves forward. We have a time to like go back to the shop and buy up. Let's look at the items and then we'll look at the macro. So we prioritize the slowing hex. So slowing hex is really key for a couple of reasons. One, we talked about it earlier in the builds when we were looking at the build. Mo and Krill and like Infernus, like, you know, heroes like that have those mobilities that can allow them to feel like fairly safe farming by themselves. This is going to make it feel a little bit more dangerous for them to try to do that. And so it gives you the ability, if there is a potential 1v1 that you can get, like someone wants to gank you, you also have the ability to be more confident that you can survive, because that's going to prevent them from being able to pursue you. So you could use it defensively, or you can use it to actually just go for a kill if you spot it. We are farming efficiently here as well. And we'll see what items we go for next. I think Divine Barrier is usually a nice one to get pretty quickly. We get our sprint boots. So really filling out those cheap items still. And okay, we're in a really good spot here. So we farmed this orange lane. We pushed the creeps pretty far. We can't do anything else here. We go to our level tier 1 creeps. We kill those. Now we're in an interesting spot. Let's go back real quick. Okay, so Viscous is on the yellow lane. We bought our sprint boots. We're killing these creeps. We spot Infernus here deep on this lane. So we're in a spot where we have the opportunity to gank. So let's see how we try to approach this. We get the position to do so. Viscous is pushing at the same time because Viscous is engaging because he is reacting to our positioning and how deep Infernus is. Now we have the slow Hex. We popped it on Haze. Sorry, is it Haze or is it? Yeah, it's Haze. So, okay, my bad. It wasn't Infernus. I'm crazy. So Haze goes down. Beautiful. Can't escape because of the slow. So already we see why it was really strong to get the slow really quickly. Because when you're ganking these lanes, it's very strong. Very, very strong indeed to secure the kill. And securing that kill gives Viscous control of this lane now. And we come back to now collect the farm on this lane. So it's just how seamless was this? We pick up the farm here. We clear the level 1 creeps. We get into a ganking position that allows Viscous to kill and allows us to get the tower kill because the tower is really low. So guaranteed value there. We get back into the orange lane in time to catch these creeps. We're in a safe position and we're just still farming. So it's super efficient. This is how we want to be looking at this kind of stuff. Okay, so yeah, okay, Divine Barrier is the next one. So this is going to make us tanky, and it's going to allow us to do even more around the map to keep that pressure on. So now the question is, what do we do? We've got 4 of us in the middle of the map. They are really pushed on purple. We're not in any good position to really get an effective gank on the yellow lane, and the creeps aren't really, this is not really deep enough for the Haze, I don't think. And we still have some cooldowns. So we are going to be with our team and just looking to see what is the decision to be made. Is there any farm accessible? Not quite. Okay, so with this kill coming in here onto our teammate, we definitely want to be trying to sweep across the map to find opportunities to try to help. We're going to be sliding down the stairs to move a little bit faster. Picking up this farm, and now it looks like Viscous is engaging. So our teammates are engaging, and we're not really in a great position to do so, so we're going to continue farming the rest of the map. Because you can see now these other lanes are getting farmed, or rather, sorry, are presenting some farm opportunities. We're looking for the hook. If we get the hook, and then we pop the slow afterwards, that's a kill. At this stage of the game, definitely a kill, I would say. So we collect the farm here. We see Abrams now coming as well. So we've seen 3 heroes to the left side of the map. So our teammates now actually coming to help us pretty quickly. So this might be something that they're not counting on. They may not realize that suddenly there's 4 of us towards this side of the map because there was a big team fight on the right side earlier. So we're now in a position to try to gank with our teammates coming to help. We catch one on the creep, on the farm. We use the slow hex on Infernus. He manages to get away. It's only like a 3-second effect, so you gotta capitalize on it fast. Now we're popping absolutely every cooldown to try to stay alive in this fight. Keep the damage output going as our teammates come in. We know that we have more numbers, so we just keep pushing on this one, keep fighting, and we're in like a really good spot. We didn't even really have to do too much, just staying alive, doing some good damage was really enough to capitalize there. In the meantime, it looks like Shiv on the other team has been pushing that purple lane with, is it Grey Talon? So they might get kind of deep. Will they push towards the walker? Might be kind of scary for them to do that. We're, clearing up some of these creep camps. Again, efficient farming along the way. And we have picked up Swift. Is it Swiftfoot or Fleetfoot? Fleetfoot. I always want to call it Swiftfoot. I don't know why, but it's Fleetfoot. Why do I want to call it Swiftfoot? I don't know. Okay, so in fact, they did try to push pretty deep here. So we have some interesting options. Let's see. So yellow's going to be pushed here. We have Lash on our team that's in a position to potentially take this farm. So Lash probably should be thinking about that. There's Infernus is going to have to he's just going to get free farm here on the orange lane. Blue lane's going to have some farm coming to it. But there's also creep camps on the way towards this purple lane. So we're going to try to see what we can do. We're going to pop Fleetfoot and see if we can get across in time. And we catch Shiv farming here. We pop this slow, we pop our cooldowns, we get the Divine Barrier coming in ready soon, and we pop it straight away. This is brilliant. Oh, it's extra brilliant because Abrams came in with a charge. I don't think that we expected to see that, but the Divine Barrier actually prevented us from dying there. Like, popping the Divine Barrier when we did prevented us from dying there. Let's go back to it again. I don't think there's an awareness that Abrams is going to charge on us here. Going for this kill, using everything to try to do so. Shiv trying to survive, trying to juke. And get the kill just before the charge comes in, yeah. And we had just popped the Divine Barrier, so really nicely done by Hydration there. And I love that. Like, if you're in a fight, just use it. Just use the Divine Barrier in the fights when it's ready. Don't try to, like, be too careful on the timing. If you're going to be taking damage, you can use it. That's a good use of it. That actually did save his life. Okay, so we go back to farming this lane that was fairly pushed. So that's a nice opportunity that presented itself because they went to try to farm that camp and we get the catch. And Yamato in 1v1s is extremely strong. That's what we're really speccing for with this build as well, is to really make us extremely powerful in those 1v1s. Because when we pop all those cooldowns, it's very hard for them to be able to deal with us within the scope of the duration of those cooldowns. We become very powerful. So just picking up the farm as we kind of go back across, using the abilities to be as quickly farming as possible. And obviously now we've got a scenario breaking out across the map in terms of the potential team fights whereby we are fairly pushed on each of these lanes. So there's no available farm. Our teammates are collected on this orange lane and the opposing team's more spread out. So we have the opportunity to potentially push as a team here. We get Heroic Aura, which is going to provide obviously more movement speed, and it's going to buff the creeps as well. It's going to provide some lifesteal as well when it's active. So we're in good shape here. 46k to 40k though, so pretty close on the souls. I can't see the kill score obviously, but the souls is a good enough indicator of where we're at.
Definitely could.
Not sure what they mean with the with that drawing on the map there. I was trying to figure it out. Okay, so we're in a good spot here. Okay, so one cool thing about this game, the fact that it has 4 lanes, is that, you know, you can kind of have these interesting situations where, okay, we're 2 on this lane pushing this walker. We're 2 on this lane pushing this walker. Now, this is going to create some interesting positional choices for the opposing team because if, let's say, they put, and I think this is what might happen here, like they are actually a bit more pushed, the opposing team, on this orange lane. So they have defended this lane. They're in a better defensive position on this lane. So it's going to be kind of sketchy for our teammates to continue to push this and for it to feel good. So we'll see what happens there. So we're going to get some damage on this walker here. We might even potentially take it out. But, okay, so you can see this is kind of what I was leading into. So our teammates might be getting pushed back here, and it gives an opportunity now for the 2 that we're defending here to be met up with by these 2 who can gank across, who can cut across the map and now create a 4v2 potentially. And there will be a timing in these moments. There's going to be a timing where potentially our other 2 teammates might be a little slow to the fight, and that kind of small window of time is going to be the edge for the opposing team. And this is like an interesting aspect of this game because of the 4 lanes. You can create all these interesting positional scenarios where, you know, you're pressuring something and you're creating a situation where they have to make a decision and in which they have multiple choices as to what they could do. And so that makes the game really interesting, I think. So we get the team fight breaking out. It's kind of what I expected. Let's go back actually and look at it again as it's breaking out. So, okay, our teammate's cutting across to try to help us in time. Okay, so we did a good job on the Yamato. Hydration did a good getting out of there, but Viscous is still out. Viscous obviously has a lot of survivability. We did lose a teammate though. In that forward position, so we're kind of on our heels a little bit. They're like pushing into us. Viscous able to kind of tank that by going into his goo. And we're in trouble here. We might have to pop the ult, get the kill on Mo and Krill at least. And the ult comes out, so nice. Oh, we're actually going to go for some more here. Almost all the cooldowns, although we do get the heroic Divine Barrier coming in. Is it going to be enough to save us from the DOTs of Infernus? I don't think so. It's looking pretty bad, yeah. So we pick up the slowing bullets to make us even more dangerous there on the 1v1s. Okay, so overall I feel like, you know, it wasn't too horrendous. This was like the first overextension that we've seen from our team. But at the same time, like, it was a good play from the opposing team to, again, realize on the macro, the positional game, that they could cut across. And by doing so, they're able to create a scenario in which they get a positional advantage for a window of time. It's very small, but it's just enough in games like this that it allows you to get, you know, that initial kill and then you have an advantage on the heroes, which is compounds into a bigger advantage, and then puts our team on the back foot as it did. So that's gonna that's gonna make things a little bit closer. We're still ahead by 4k souls, but still pretty close game. So we're getting back on our farm at this point. It looks like we're fighting on the purple lane. Our 7 is about to get ganked by Abrams though, so 7 might just die. It looks pretty bad on the minimap, I'm not going to lie. It looks 3 of them. Okay, yep, 7 is very dead. We're going to get a catch here though on the other side of the map. Okay, and it's a super interesting spot because we can get potentially 2 walkers here. This walker's very low, so this should be a given. And we're also killing the orange walker as well. So I like the focus pressure here. And 7 was sort of farming in the position to farm on the extremity. So like if they go for 7 like they did in this position where they ganked with 3, they are kind of giving up these 2 towers. So now in that whole kind of rule I was saying where you don't want to give stuff up for free. Okay, yeah, it was not totally for free that they give up these 2 walkers. They got 7, but are they going to be able to get a walker in return? Because right now we have 4 walkers up. So we're in ahead there. And so they're going to be able to probably convert on this one. Yeah, so they get the purple walker, but we got 2. And we have a lot more maneuverability around the map. So we want to be able to push these 2 lanes now, but we're going to have to deal with, our team is going to have to deal with these very, very push players, which is what's happening as we continue to farm. You don't need everybody to do this. You don't need the entire team to go back and put its attention on this. And given that we are the carry as well, it's always nice to prioritize extra farm for us if we're in a position to do so. We are not going to have too much farm on the yellow and orange lane based on where the creeps are at the moment, but we do get a potential 1v1 and we pick up the headhunter. So now we're going to be way more dangerous in terms of the DPS, just the raw DPS. But two players there not liking this fight, going to have to back away. If it was just Infernus, maybe we would be thinking about it, but... And I think at this point, you kind of just want to give up this tower in most cases. We've got, I think, Shiv is here as well. So that's 3 I've seen on the minimap. We've got to be very careful now. They're really looking to try to take us down. We do have some assistance coming in on the rope, and we have Viscous here as well. So we're actually in a decent spot to engage now. They didn't hit their timing. There was a timing for them to attack us, to single out Yamato, but they didn't do so. They waited too long, and they were too deep, and ended up getting punished for that. So... a good job by Hydration to sort of stay in that position where it's kind of like a bait, actually. It feels very scary, but sometimes you can try to do that. If you have the sense that you can survive and not get caught out by this stuff, then it's nice to provide a bait, which is what essentially happened. They stayed out too long because they probably wanted to kill the Yamato. So now we're going to go across the map, looking for the creep camps. Lash is going to be able to farm this. And so given the fact that we pushed this and everything else is pushed on the rest of the map, we're thinking about creep camps. And because you're Yamato, you're also thinking about how can I catch people off guard? What are they likely to be doing in these scenarios? And given the fact that we just got a kill, we kind of forced them to routes, we're going to find Infernus trying to farm. There's the slowing aura. So 3 seconds that he can't move, but that's more than enough time. Especially with the headhunter, you can see the damage off of the headshots there was pretty crazy. So we're getting dangerous now. So going back, getting some extra farm here as we go across from very far away. Oh, and we're gonna go smoothly into a next team fight that's breaking out here. Easy decision there. Picking up the Hunter's Aura along the way, and that's gonna of course decrease their bullet resistance as you get close to them. So that's gonna combine with the Headhunter to do insane damage. And I believe that may have even been the ult headshot coming in from our Vindictor. So Hayes had no chance to survive there. And back we go, collecting the farm. So you can kind of see the pattern here in terms of how we want to try to keep our souls up, our souls per minute up as much as possible. Trying to be really efficient as always with that. So we get our duration extender, which is very nice indeed. And we're cutting across to the blue lane. So Viscous is dealing with the purple lane. So again, we might be thinking about ganks again here on the Yamato, because we have to think about when we're placing ourselves in the mind of a player like Hydration here and just thinking about the role of the Yamato and how we're speccing, we are super strong if we get the jump on one person. So if we want to look for those players that might be ganking. So what are the spots? What are the conditions by which someone would choose to try to farm creeps, and which creeps are up? So that's something we'll be thinking about. So we're going to go into enemy territory here. Oh, and we just spotted Shiv on the mini map. And now we crouch to see if we can get a bit closer. Did we hear anything? Did we get spotted? We did not. So we're going to wrap around. We have cooldowns. There goes the slow. Ooh, we just need to hit the headshots now. We'll be fine. However, did not go super well, but it looks like 7 is here, going to get the stun and try to fight out a little bit there as well. We've got Viscous also helping too, so we're going to wrap around the side. I really like from Hydration that Hydration's not too yellow. Like Hydration, even though, you know, on Yamato you can be pretty yellow, I feel like it's a good balance where we're not really overextending. And it's very easy to do that with heroes like this. Oh, and we've got a great spot here where we can get damage on this walker. We're coming in from the side. We do quite a bit of damage at this point, so we get some good chip damage. They are occupied on the orange lane, so we're able to get some free chip damage here. Now, one thing to consider about this as well is that even though you're doing just a little bit of damage, and it may be not too consequential, this is threat. This is threatening. This is something that the opponent will see and have to respect to some extent. So, and we're in a position where we can't easily get ganked. As long as we don't go further, we can always go back, and we are falling back onto 2 teammates. So we can also create a scenario in which we create a huge distraction. They're going to have to commit some players to this, and we can potentially bait them if they really want to go for it and fall into our teammates. And at the same time, that empowers our 3 teammates who are trying to fight right now on the orange lane as well. You create a scenario where they're having to fight on 2 fronts, which creates a difficulty with decision making for the opponents. So that's one of the reasons why like having the ability to pressure lots of different things at once can be very, very powerful, because it creates a difficulty for your opponents in understanding what they should prioritize or what they should coordinate when all of them are sort of seeing different things or potentially needing to deal with different things. So we're getting our enduring speed for some extra mobility. And we got the slow on Abrams, but he's going to get away. That's okay. We did get the walker though, so we're doing really well for that. We're 2 walkers to 0 now, so we are up there. Oh, jumping in. Okay, I don't think we expected to jump into the Hazel. That was definitely not anticipated, and so that's unfortunate timing. So that's just going to completely just kill the fight opportunity for us. We just got to get out again. A sign of a good player from Hydration, not trying to overcommit there, because it is a sign of a good player who can look at a scenario and have a plan, go into the scenario, and then the equation changes completely. And to then accept the change when in your mind it was going to be a big moment for you to get some kills, and just accept, oh, I have to cancel now, and just being able to instantly do it. That is a sign of a good player. So, you know, props to Mr. Hydration. Okay, so we're fairly pushed now. We're in a situation where we're not actually too far ahead on souls somehow. It feels like we should be more ahead than we are. It's a bit more farm collected here from Hydration. We are pretty nice on the items at the moment though. See Viscous able to survive there, holding that forward ground, having to fall back a little bit. We're on top of this high ground, giving us some nice headshots there onto Shiv. Again, working the positioning really nicely. We're going to catch on the sidelines a hook into the fight. We get the slow on there, so Monkrill cannot burrow out of the way. We fall back. Okay, let's go back real quick. I just want to highlight something here in this fight, just the positioning. Okay, so with this positioning, we jump up top. This gives us lots of options with the high ground. So we're falling back. We get some headshots on Shiv. Now we're kind of on the side of the fight. And this is really nice because look how it sets up the hook. I know it's not called a hook, but I'm forgetting otherwise the grapple. Okay, off this grapple, you can use the slow that also is going to now prevent him from being able to move away. And he's stuck, so headshots for days. And also, another thing to note, okay, what were we doing after we got the hook and the slow? After we get this hook, it's a nice passage to play to watch actually again. We are falling back. We're running up the steps as we are shooting him in the head. Imagine if we got stunned down here. That is potentially us dying, because look how much damage it just chunked us for like 30% HP. If we were in a spot where Infernus could have just like spammed us in the head, we might actually die from that. So all of these little positional choices really matter, because that positional choice, and I'm going back into it again, but I really like sometimes to really try to hammer home the point. When we go back like this here, we have options. We have options to fall back or to re-engage. And if we were down there, we don't have a good option either way. We could take too much damage that it then commits us into a fight that we don't want. But by being able to re-engage, we get to choose how we re-engage into the fight. And so it can be on our terms as opposed to theirs. This is another key sort of principle at the top level when it comes to these in-fight advantages or disadvantages. And obviously that's what we want to do to our opponents. We want to commit them into spots which are bad for them. Okay, and this is so unlucky for Infernus. We also have the cooldowns on the slow. We just got to hit the headshots and we'll be fine. Oh my god. Okay, here comes Abrams as well, so we're in trouble. We jump up onto the box. That's actually nice because that can obviously help us dodge any punches also. Infernus running around like a crazy lunatic with the sprint, but that did not really help him out whatsoever. So that's going to compound here nicely, and surely we get the mid boss now. Yes, yes. Yeah, so it's really nice, especially at this point in the game. All of the lanes are fairly pushed. We don't have to really worry about Haze too much there. They can't really do too much to stop this. In fact, it's kind of crazy that they tried to do so after already losing 2 heroes. It wasn't even a steal attempt, I don't think. You know, it wasn't even possible to steal there. So that's maybe a little bit of a tilt push, I don't know. And so now we're just going to keep pushing. Like, we don't care about what Haze is doing on the yellow lane because we can do severe damage here on the front. We've got the rejuvenation. We're like getting pretty farmed here. We've just gained a almost 20k lead on the souls, like a 16k lead on the souls. That's the biggest difference we've had so far. So we're gonna stay out here and keep pressuring. Okay, so this is another thing that's a principle in these games, is that when they're kind of staggered in this way, and we're sort of presenting a almost unified front or pressure, they have to respond by all of them defending in this kind of position because it's very dangerous. And they want to find a way to engage in a team fight. So if you can create a scenario where they can't find a way to engage or coordinate to engage, it can just be catastrophic. So they're trying to do so here. They're off of Haze's ult, so we'll see. And we get out. We get out with their abilities. They've used the Haze ult. So they are struggling now. That might have been their best chance. You can see Abrams is going to go down as we continue to push. Infernus is going to get out of dodge. He's unable to connect with his teammates. He's out of the fight. So they're effectively, like 4 of them are down right now because the remaining heroes can't really do anything to defend against this. And this is beautiful play here from Hydration's team. Just like using this leverage to consistently pressure and pick them off. If you spot a moment to get a 1v1 as Yamato, you're going to take it. And they just can't coordinate anything to deal with this. So really well played here from Hydration and his team, because there's nothing that they can do now at this point. Really, really well played. It's funny because one of them on the voice said, "Oh, we should just leave because they won on the hero picks." And I don't know, I don't know if they meant that they had won or if their opponents had won. You know, right off the rip. I don't know, man. But this is great. Love to see it. There comes the ult. We're going to finish it off. There's like literally no way to stop this now. GG. GG. All right. Okay. Good gameplay once again from these top streamers. So we can check out the stats here. There we go. So we did a good job. We went 8 for 1. So yeah, really well played by Hydration. I don't know. I just felt like he had great control in terms of knowing when to push, when not to push, I think the thing that impressed me the most were the moments where Hydration knew when to back off. Because especially when you're playing a hero like that's aggressive, an aggressive type carry hero like Yamato can be, it can be very tempting to overextend. And by doing that, you give your opponents a ways back in. On the previous VOD that we covered, I highlighted how super effectively the team we were watching, they just maximized every edge and they never gave anything away. Anytime that it feels like they could get comfortable or could maybe overextend, they said no, and they just went back and got more advantage every single time. And this is the philosophy. What do you do when you get ahead? You get more ahead. And that's what they did really well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I will catch you all on the next one.